Are you tired of the same business and brand metaphors all the time when it comes to customer experience? Of course you are, so let's try something new. Let's get into quantum physics, quantum computing, and how the illusion of separation can teach you how to win the race for relevance with your customers. Let's do it. Hi, my name is Ken Hughes. Welcome back. Right, so today we're going to look at something a bit different as a metaphor for understanding the difference between the kind of connection you think you have with your customer versus the relationship that you should have. And I'm going to all frame it around the illusion of separation. In humankind, we have this huge illusion that we are separate from our environment, that matter is separate from other matter. And actually, if you look at quantum physics and quantum mechanics, what you'll find there's an amazing thing called quantum entanglement. So at the lowest level of the building blocks of the universe, you have particles, even before you have photons and electrons and atoms and molecules. Right down here you've got particles, and if you look at how they work, what quantum entanglement shows us that if you separate a particle and have one side, even with distance, have one side in London, bring the other bit to New York, if you alter the state of one of those particles, the other piece of that particle will instantly change its state also. So even though there's a huge illusion of distance, they're actually still connected. And that's really interesting. I think Einstein called it spooky action at a distance, which is, to be fair, catchier than quantum entanglement. But if things remain entangled, it just shows us that everything is connected to everything else. And obviously you don't have to look at sciences for that. You can look at ecology, you can look at, because all that the funguses that grow under the trees in a forest all connect the trees to each other and they share nutrients, they communicate with each other. All religions have continuously talked about the illusion of separation, that everything is interconnected. Buddhism and Hinduism and Christianity, even Paul the Apostle talked about the body of Christ as a metaphor for interconnectedness. If you look at the origin of the Big Bang, we all come from one place. We all have a common ancestor on this planet in terms of our mammalian ancestry. And so when you look at this illusion of separation, from a branding point of view, what we see is that we think we're different from our customers. So we've got the brand over here and the production and the operation and the stores, and then we've got the customer over here and they consume, and there's some kind of line between those two things. And that's a real illusion, the illusion of separation. And so what quantum teaches us, that if at the universe level and the laws of physics level, separation is an illusion, it is also true in business. Now, staying with quantum for a little bit, people often ask me about quantum computing, and here's quantum computing 101 for you, just to help you understand that entanglement piece a bit more. So traditional computers code process by reading ones and zeros, binary codes. They go along the ones and zeros and they decide what to do. And as our processing speeds and our chips got better and better in our computers, our processing speeds increased, our processing capacity increases, but they're still reading them sequentially, because they're operating on bits, whereas quantum computing operates on qubits, and qubits are basically ones and zeros at the same time. Think of it as walking into a maze, and every time you get to a T-junction, you have to go left or go right. Now, left might go down a dead end, it might bring you on a loop, right might be the right way to go, but you don't know that until you do it. And so the only way you can solve that maze is sequentially make each of the decisions, and eventually you'll find the center. Whereas what a qubit does is it goes left and right at the same time. It is 1 and 0 at the same time, and so obviously it'll solve the maze instantly because it's always right. While it's being wrong, it's always right at the same time. And these machines are only being built really by IBM and Microsoft and Google at the moment, and they're still in experimental phases. They're not as stable as they need to be, because the moment there's an error in a quantum computing machine, that error is multiplied out hugely instantly because of its speed. The general consensus is that by 2030 we will have these in large scale production, and of course it'll change humanity. It'll be as big as electricity. It'll change the way we do healthcare, it'll change the way we do any kind of logistics and operations, and it'll solve things that are huge, like space travel, and it's just, it's a huge spring jump for humanity. But look, it's a few years away. But the whole point about the quantum piece is that 1 and 0 at the same time, and two things they're always entangled. And so when you bring it back to what you can learn then from your brand and your business in terms of this entanglement, there are 5 key things I think that are important in this metaphor that you can look at and think, oh well, okay, if we look at it that way, then maybe we do a little bit different in our customer experience strategy. So number 1 is collaboration. This idea that you're a separate entity from the consumer, the producer, and there's some kind of line in between. This is a very dangerous illusion, because actually if you tear away that line, if you invite the customer into the production process, show them behind the scenes footage, kind of build a tribe of belonging, build a community, a cooperative, that's where you really start to get belonging, which is a key part of customer lifetime loyalty. So So think about the adult Lego fans, that group as a community. As an adult Lego fan, you can design new Lego ideas, you can submit them to the community, and if it gets 10,000 or more votes from the community, it gets presented to Lego, who then go on to produce that, and you get your name on the box, and you even get 1% of all sales revenue from it. So you've got consumers who are designing product, who are actually in the R&D funnel, in the production piece. And I'm not suggesting you need to do that, but it's a great example of how you let the customer in. Taylor Swift has built her entire Swiftie army on that idea too, of belonging, of tearing away the line between us and them. It's all of us together to make the music. It's me, the music, the videos, it's you, the fan, the tribe, and together we make the magic. And so she understands the power of collaboration, and you should too. Think about how you can invite your customer in. The second thing you want to think about is this idea of entanglement and memory. So even though those two particles are miles apart, change one, the other instantly changes, there's a memory that's happening, there's a memory in matter. And so the same thing is true of customer experience in your brand. The customer has a memory of all the interactions they've had with your brand, not just the last one, but all of them, and they all add up to be this general consensus that we have of a brand. And some brands do this really well. They look at all the touch points and think, well, how can, because every single touch point should really give you the same feel for the brand. It's one of the big challenges we have with digital versus physical stores. How can you get the same feeling that someone might have on an app where you know them and you're using their data and it's hyper-personalized versus the cold kind of sales greeting they might get in the store? So how do we get that right? And I think Apple do this really, really well, because Apple if you look at every touch point, from the product design itself to the packaging design to the retail store, it's all the same. It's all an experience. It's all premium. It's all done to have that look and feel for the brand. And so have a look at your customer journey and look at, is every touch point saying the same thing? Are we communicating the same experience through every channel, through every opportunity that we could and should be doing with our customers? Number 3, the entanglement between the customer experience and the employee experience. You can't have one without the other. So the idea that you would have a good customer experience delivered by a tired, unmotivated, unempowered workforce is ridiculous. You have to make sure that the workforce are happy before they can actually go on and do the good customer experience bits that you want them to do. And similarly, if you do deliver excellent customer experience and those customers tell your story and their brand story on social media, and you go home from work every day as an employee knowing that you've made people feel amazing and put a smile on their face, you of course are happy in your work. And so good customer experience causes good employee experience, and vice versa. I mean, Southwest Airlines are great at this. They have a really good culture of investing in their people so that the people can then invest in the passenger, and around and round that infinity loop goes. So think about that. How do you truly entangle employee experience and customer experience to be a total experience management solution for your brand? Number 4. Think about those particles in quantum physics again as the basic building blocks of all matter. So we go from particles and photons to electrons to atom nucleuses to atoms to molecules to tissues to organs to systems to planets to solar systems. On it goes, but it all comes back to the smallest elements, the particles. They're all the building blocks of everything. And so true is that of your brand and your customer experience. Every little touch point you have, every potential conversation, every moment a customer interacts with your brand is a touch point. They're all little building blocks that add up to everything. And so focusing on the moments that matter is really, really key. The Ritz-Carlton do this really well. They have an entire CRM system that tracks everything about a guest, from the desired temperature they like in their room, to their favorite snacks, to their favorite type of pillow. And when you arrive at the Ritz, it's all there ready for you. And you remember, it's kind of, you feel like, oh, they've remembered me, I belong here. And they're making sure that all the small things are right. You'll be met by name in the corridor. You'll be all those small things are recorded and managed and then reflected back at you to make sure that you feel that sense of tribe, that sense of family, that sense of belonging. And hospitality is so important. And so I think you can do the same. You can think about, well, what are our touch points? How can they be all saying the same thing? But where in the small things can we start to really kind of sparkle? And as you do that, you lay that foundation. On top of that, then you start to build your customer experience tower. The last one, number 5, what is the opposite of entanglement, which is what we all want? We want emotional entanglement. We want customer lifetime value. Well, the opposite is decoherence, disconnection. That also happens in physics. And obviously, if that's one of the problems with the quantum computers that I talked about earlier on, a little bit of heat, a little bit of moisture, a little bit of vibration causes the calculation to collapse because the quantum state collapses. So things happen and the quantum entanglement stops. Now, it generally stops over time. It's like a snap thing. But you can ask yourself the question, like, if I want entanglement, emotional entanglement with my brand and my customer, what would make it snap? What would make it stop? What would make it kind of just fade away? And the answer is not investing. Think of it as a relationship. In a romantic relationship, you have to invest. You have to turn up every day. You have to do the work. And actually, most romantic relationships don't fail one day. They kind of fade away. They deconstruct And so the idea is, how can we continuously invest in our customer? How can we continuously invest in our employee on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, to make sure that that decoherence doesn't happen, that disconnect? It actually often happens with scale. If you look at Starbucks, started out as a beautiful third space and then became a commodity coffee shop. McDonald's, you've got Shake Shack, you've got Hard Rock Cafe, Pret. Pret started off as a really urban chic, community-focused, staff-led sandwich shop, and now it's a commodity. So sometimes with scale, you lose connection, you lose craft, you lose the authenticity that you had once as a brand. That's really important. So as you scale, you need to have a think about, how can we still connect with meaning with our customers, with emotional meaning. And emotional entanglement is what we're all looking for. We're looking for, how can we, like those particle physics in quantum, how can we entangle our customer with our brand to the point where we are one? This illusion of separation, it is just that, it is an illusion. If you still want this line between you, the producer, and then the consumer, you're not ever going to build a tribe, you're not ever going to build a family, you're not ever going to build a relationship. And they are the things that lay down the foundations for customer lifetime value. Until next time, I'm Ken Hughes.